You're listening to The Daily Show.
The Daily Show?
The Daily Show.
The Daily Show.
On Men's Radio.
Men's Radio.
Men's Radio.
Men's Radio.
With Russ Kane.
The laugh pop is all right. Out of Unit 1 into Unit 2. And have a little bit of Dave D, Dozy, Beaky, Mick, and you know who, all right? Do you know when I was a kid? Hi, everybody. I'm Russ Kane. This is The Daily Show, exclusive to Men's Radio Station, part of the Sound Mind Radio Group. More of that later. Now, when I was a kid, I was at boarding school, sent away when I was 9, and we were not allowed radios. We weren't allowed anything. The only thing we were allowed to listen to was Pick of the Pops on a Sunday afternoon in the boarding house. And it was hosted by the great Alan Fluff Freeman. Never in my wildest dreams, as a 9-10-year-old kid, did I think I would meet Alan Freeman, let alone work with him, let alone share a studio with him. Isn't it weird the way things happen? Talking of weird things, ladies and gentlemen, he's on a roll at the moment, usually cheese, usually ham, but he's on a comedy roll, which we're going to discuss in a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him. You've grown to love him. The king of comedy in a sort of 1 mile radius of the Tolworth Tower, Neil Long.
Hello, how are you?
We're good. How are you? How are you? You look very sparky. You look sparky. What's going on? What's going on? What's happening? You look sparky. I don't know what that means. Sparky.
Yes,
What?
I met Alan
You
Freeman.
met him? He was a lovely guy, wasn't he? Fluff was a fantastic guy.
He was lovely. We got that delay back this morning. Never mind, I'll tell the story. I met Alan Freeman when I was doing my demo for Capital, and I was in the studio trying to get it right, and it was really, really difficult. And he walked in the door, and to me, it was like a radio god walking in the door.
Totally.
And if you met him, you would know that he sounded just the same off air as he did on. Permission to use a bad word. Is that all right?
Go ahead.
Okay, it's the F-bomb. Is that all right?
Stand by, everybody. Stand by. What's the
So I went,
plan?
oh, wow, how are you? And he went, fucking awful. But at my age, that's about all you could expect. All right. And I'm like, oh, my God.
Alan Freeman.
Yeah. And then I said, have you got any advice? And he said, don't let the bastards grind you down. All right. And he looked at me, he went, I've just got to do something. Do you mind? And I went, no, sure. And he went, you're a beautiful boy. Did you hear that? Did you hear that classic story of him, though, about him and the management office? Do you know this one?
No.
It's going to be another bad word. Is that all right?
Stand by for bad words, everybody, all over the world.
Okay. So he's waiting outside the boss's door. You know who I'm talking about. And that particular boss had a way of making you wait out there for ages. He'd book a time with you and then make you pace up and down like a naughty schoolboy waiting to see the headmaster. Yeah. So apparently he was doing the same to Fluff. And he was having this really important meeting with these, radio royalty dignitaries, whoever he's having the meeting with. And Fluff Freeman was waiting outside. Eventually, Alan Freeman has enough. And he opens the door and he goes, I'd just like to say, I'm going home and you're all a bunch of wankers. All right. True story. I love that story. What a legend.
He was incredible. I was in awe when I met him, obviously. And he was charming. And as Neil, as you've just said, he was helpful. He was supportive. He was just great.
My girlfriend at the time was dating a girl called Sarah, and she came into Capital with me, and she met him, and she didn't know who he was until I said, "Oh, come on, Harry Enfield, all right, poor biggest Bobba Doobler." She went, "Oh, him!" And I went, "Yes, that's who it's based on." And then she was like starstruck.
No, that's rather rude, Grandpa. Pack. How dare you? No,
you come to my comedy gig, Graham.
Yes, he's writing a comedy gig from what I hear. The great thing was I was very, very nervous. They gave me a show, in addition to being the flying guy, they gave me a show. It was a sodding nightmare. I put so much effort. It was called Russ Kane's In-Flight Entertainment because Kenny Everett was called away to do TV. And they said, would you like to take his slot on a Saturday lunchtime? Me replacing the irreplaceable Kenny Everett. And I said, yes.
Wow.
And I was a nervous wreck. I was a wreck. And Fluff Freeman was on the show before me. We did in those days hot seat handovers, whereby one DJ would be there, then he'd leave the studio and you'd jump in and start your show. It's all very different now. And I said, my stomach's not. He said, let me tell you something. I've been doing this 37 years and I still get nervous. And he says, the day you don't get nervous is the day you should stop.
I remember once meeting
nice
Graham Dean, and I'd never met Graham Dean
Diddly-dum-dee-doo.
and we all still do that to this day. And the reason why I met Graham Dean, he came to do some shows at Radio Jackie, which is where I work now.
Blimey.
And he is a charming man.
Lovely guy. Never have dinner with him because it takes 3 hours to order the wine. Go on.
What? Charming guy, consummate professional.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very humble, really, really good guy. And he said he still gets nervous as well. But maybe that is the sign of a true... I suppose it stops you getting complacent, doesn't it?
I think if you don't get some sort of... I think you have to shift gear with any job you do. And if you don't, if you're doing stand-up and you feel exactly the same, standing in the wings, as you do sitting at home watching TV, I don't think you should be doing it. Because no one can be that relaxed. No one. I think it's important. It goes back. It's interesting with the mental health aspect of it, in that you don't want to be a nervous wreck, but you want to give it your best performance.
The optimal state for performance and learning, according to the various psychological fields, is number one is a state of flow. We've talked about that before, where it seems just effortless and delicious. The only frustrating thing is you can't remember a thing about it afterwards because you're literally in the moment. You are literally in the moment. And it's like what is coming next is being almost fed to you. It's an incredible experience. It feels absolutely blissful. But for learning something, it's challenging enough to be interesting, but not so challenging it's insurmountable. Okay.
That's
if it wasn't, it's a balance of the two. If it's not challenging enough, it's basically boring and you go on autopilot. Things you've done 1,000 times before. If it's too challenging, it seems insurmountable and your doubt to kick in and you never get done. But that sweet spot of challenging and interesting, but not insurmountable, but doable, that's the optimal place.
And also for your mental health and for your well-being, nerves, I've said this before, but I think it's so true. And so many people overlook it. There's good nerves and there's bad nerves. Good nerves is, I'm excited to do this. I've prepared. I've done the very best that I can. I've tried to leave nothing to chance. Here we go. Hope they like the work. That's all you can hope for. Bad nerves is you're standing there and you think, shit, I haven't really done my research, or I haven't rehearsed enough, or I haven't done a deep enough dive into this to learn about what I'm talking about. I've been too casual, or worst, I've been lazy. And now I'm here. That's bad nerves.
But a lot of that is the stories that we're telling ourselves. I was on a fascinating call the other day, and they were talking about the stories we tell ourselves. And they come up with this very clever phrase, all truths are true, meaning the story you tell yourself.
Again?
Is,
whoa. Say that.
All truths are true.
Well, are they?
To us, if it's all based on what we personally think, feel and believe, yes. There's no kind of one objective. It can't be an objective truth, otherwise people wouldn't have different experiences.
This is where I have the problem with this. Longie, this is where I have the problem with this.
Tell me.
Well, the old saying is there's three versions of the truth. Your truth, my truth, somewhere in the middle is the truth. My problem is this stupid phrase perpetrated by me again over in America with the, it's my truth. That is possibly one of the most meaningless phrases on the planet. It's my truth.
I think
rubbish.
it's the way.
Neil, I might as well say, well, you know what my truth is? I'm the number one driver for McLaren this season in the Formula One championship. Well, it's not. Obviously, I'm not. Oh, that's my truth. What does it mean?
Well, let's put it this way. It's been a bit kind of narcissistically used. Well, that's my
It's been hijacked. It's been
Yeah, that's
hijacked by
my
bullshit.
truth.
Do you know what it is?
But,
I'm
but let's
just
put
going
it
to
this way.
say
Let's
it.
put it in terms of
I'm
of
just going to
belief
say it.
systems.
I'm going to say it. It's been
Go on.
hijacked by bullshitters who want to
Okay.
talk garbage. That's the problem with it.
Okay. Well, it's based on a grain of truth. If I put it this way, see if it's any more palatable to you.
Okay.
We've got these. We all have belief systems. We've discussed this before. Belief systems. It's interesting that belief systems could, is BS sometimes. Yeah. So if you believe that you're not very good, that will be the reality for you, and the world will seem to mirror that back to you. If you believe that you have the potential to be the next McLaren Formula One driver, and you started driving lessons, started advanced driving courses, did a couple of days at Brands Hatch or something, you could become a brilliant driver, and that is true. Or you could say, I'm a terrible driver and I'll never be able to do it. Whichever of those you believe will be the truth for you.
There is also something which we've touched upon a lot, which I think caused a lot of mental damage.
What's that?
And it's not a political thing. It was really kind of started by Tony Blair, that everyone's a winner. No one's a loser. When you're in a race, everybody wins. It's not life. It would be lovely, but we don't live in Walt Disney, mercifully, world. We live in the real world, and not everybody can be good at everything. I have no sense of balance. I have seriously no sense of balance. If I've got to change a light bulb, and I'm not joking, it's like me doing Phil Dave going up Mount Kilimanjaro, because just standing on the chair, it's horrendous. And I know it's ridiculous, but I have no sense of balance.
But there's many
things I can't do.
There's things I'm not good at. I'm not a practical person at all, but I'm reasonably, hopefully good at doing this. I'm a pretty good DJ. I'm a great lover. And that wasn't meant to be funny. Shut up. What are you laughing at? The
Hang
DJ
on.
bit or the lover bit?
This is not a good sign. I'm a great lover. Cue hysterical female laughter, stage right.
That wasn't female. That was Ken.
That was Ken. Even worse. Even Ken doesn't rate you as a lover.
That's my producer, Mr. E.
Ken doesn't even rate you as a lover. Oh my God. That says it all, boy.
There is certainly some truth.
I don't think the show can get any better than that.
Right. Okay. Oh, now we're getting quite philosophical here. Some aspects of mental health can be affected by people that their truth is the truth, and that your actual truth is being dismissed or disbelieved. Yes, absolutely. Now this is where it gets kind of,
for a start.
Well, this is where it gets finely nuanced. Could you put that comment back up and I'll break it down?
This is from Scott Lyons, who calls himself, we don't call him that, by the way. He calls himself Fat Scotty. I call him Mr. Lyon. There we go.
For anyone to say their truth is the truth, that is true for them. So if they believe that they're not a good business person, they won't be. If they believe they are, they probably will be, or they'll be more open to learn, or be more open to see opportunities. That's the notion of personal reality, if you like, and belief systems, and the world kind of mirroring it back to you. But you've missed a word out there, Scotty. If they say if they say it's the only truth, and I'm right and you are wrong, that is false to say, because everyone has got their own belief systems and therefore their own
internet problem.
Malleable, changeable, but truths.
Okay.
It's a.
Here's my question. I hope you can hear me. We seem to be having internet. Oh, bloody internet. Here's my question. You and I both I've done stand up. I may come back to it, but I do like an hour and a half show. It's a different format, but it's the same. It's the same principle.
I'd love to see your stand up.
We stand on a stage and we perform. This is where the word truth becomes difficult. I performed at the Crazy Coq's, which is a fantastic cabaret venue in Piccadilly, my favorite London cabaret venue. I was thrilled. It was sold out, blah, 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 blah. And I came off stage and I was disgusted with myself. I didn't think I'd given my best. And I just stood I wouldn't come on for the everyone was clapping. It was very nice, very complimentary. I wouldn't come back on. And I just stared in the dressing room mirror and I was swearing at myself. I was furious. And then I came out and the audience were there and they loved it. They weren't being disingenuous. They loved it. So where is the truth? They thought it was very funny and hilarious. I thought I'd let myself down. Where's the truth?
That was their opinion. They obviously
enjoyed it. They enjoyed it.
They enjoyed it. But performers, and particularly you, I think, because most of us are, but I think you very strongly, you're very self-critical. We've all got that inner critic. Every human has that.
Yes.
So again, it's which voice do you want to listen to? Do you want to listen to the, if you like, the angel that goes, you really got out there and gave it your best. That's fantastic. Yeah, a couple of bits to iron over, but it's all practice, no failure or any feedback. The audience loved you. Come on, well done. Go and do it again. Do even better next time. Nothing wrong with you now. Well done. Or do you listen to the voice that goes, well, that was shit?
I was annoyed with myself. This is the whole mental health attitude. I came off furious with myself because I'd let something very stupid interrupt my, to use your word, flow, interrupt my rhythm. And I should have ignored it. And stupidly, I got annoyed.
But I have to point out to you that 99.9% of it went really well. And the evidence is there with what the audience did. And 0.01% didn't. Now, what bit are you noticing? Where is your focus of attention? And this is where it all hangs on. Are you putting your focus? It's like living in a really beautiful town. You live in an amazing city. It's got all the amenities. It's a totally safe city. There's no crime. Everything is legal that you'd want to be. It's just the most lovely place. But there is one pothole on Fifth Avenue.
Shall I tell you what happened? It was such a stupid thing. The place is packed. There's a lot of faces there.
Using that metaphor, you're putting all your attention on the pothole.
Yes. No. This is what I'm endorsing what you're saying. I'd spent time with the sound engineer. It's a stunning venue, Crazy Cogs, fabulous venue. And we'd work. I have this particular play on music, which in itself is a joke. I won't spoil it. And we'd rehearsed it, and he's sitting at the sound desk. They introduced me, and I'm waiting for the music. And the guy just sits there like a freaking lemon. Doesn't press the button. I'm looking at him. Nothing. And it broke my rhythm. And then my mind, instead of performing, my mind said, I want to go over and slap that guy because we talked about it. We rehearsed it. We ran through it in detail. And he just sat there, didn't do it. And I should have just put it out of my head. Maybe I just wasn't professional enough. Maybe I don't know. There was a lot of big names there that night. I wanted it to be extra good.
But again, that's the story you're telling yourself. Listen to your words. I've been doing NLP with someone this morning, so it's quite fresh in my mind. Listen to your words. I'm not professional enough. What? Well, that's no story to tell yourself. You're a radio professional for 30 years.
I know.
So change the story. And the point is you can change the story.
Let's look at some of these comments coming in. I didn't read this out. This is from Scott Lyons. There are many days when my PD program director, I've forgotten. Program director, that's a radio term for the boss, tells me I've done an amazing show.
Patronising head.
Patronising dickhead. And I've done an amazing show, and it sounds like the Poodle's Privates. Yet I feel it didn't come up to scratch. Sometimes trying too hard. Trying too hard is awful.
I used to record my shows at Capital, and on the way home, driving home at 4 a.m, I would listen to the Snoop of the show. If you're not familiar with what
obviously,
Snoop
Neil,
is,
I've been listening to the Snoop tape. A few things to iron out, I feel.
And Snoop's an accurate name. It's not the American R&B star. Snoop is where you put the microphone up, it just records what you say, and then you put it down and it stops the tape. So it's just the words, not the music. So you can listen to it in about 2.5 minutes if it's Capital Radio for a 4-hour show. But
it's 12:03. Coming up next.
But I used to listen and do autopsies and go, that wasn't very good. That wasn't very good. That wasn't very good. And then what's the point? My dream has come true. I'm on Capital Radio and I'm going, well, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. Then you go to the boss and he go, well, that's not good enough. Nowhere did someone take the time to point out, actually, you, Scotty, you're doing this job for a reason because you're really good at it. And of course you're always
Yeah, but
learning.
even if you went to
of
see,
course you're always learning. That is absolutely standard. It can't be any other way.
but even if you went to see the greats, let's put the greats up there. I don't know, Ricky Gervais, people like that, the tip top, the top of the tree. They would have an off night, and they would well come off and say, I don't think that bit went as well. What is not wrong, and is, I think, is encouraging for mental health and for your personal growth. You use the word autopsy, horrendous, loaded phrase, when you're analyzing the show. Looking back on it and saying, what could I have made a little bit better?
That's different.
That's progress. You see, that's
different.
not
That's
beating yourself up.
And that's no failure, only
up.
feedback. Okay, there's the facts, and then there's the story. Okay, The facts are there are a couple of bits you could have done better, but there's always next time, and you will evolve and do it better next time. That's the feedback. That's the growth. That's different from saying there's a couple of bits I could have done better, therefore I am shit and I shouldn't be doing this job and I should probably give it up and I'm not professional enough and yada, yada, yada. There's the facts and then there's the story about the facts, and they're different. They really are.
My fear, and the one thing every day that I strive for, is never to be complacent, ever. And I should be easing up, but it's the absolute opposite. I have, to be honest with you, Neil, I've never been busier. I've never been more, I'm going to use the word, a very unpopular word, ambitious to make these radio stations grow. And we're working like so hard behind the scenes. It's like a swan on the water. You see it gliding and underneath, going crazy. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the team we've built around us. That you
I
never
think
get.
It's brilliant.
I mean, you. I mean,
are you doing it from a place of, wow, it's going to be amazing watching this unfold, and I'm so proud to be a part of this and at the tiller of this, or it's not good enough as it is, and I'm not professional enough, and I've got to fix it, and I can't be happy until I do. Two completely different attitudes.
Oh no! It's the former. Because I am proud of this. The feedback we get from the audience is wonderful. The figures for such a modest undertaking are good and increasing, and certainly never less than steady. But my dream, and Howard Jameson's dream, and Penny Horner's dream, and now all the other team that we've brought on, but all behind the scenes, you'll never meet, is to offer a service that is needed, as well as have a lot of fun, but to offer a service that I think is needed more and more and more, because the medical professionals can't cope. They're snowed under. We are not medical professionals, but we could be signposters. In other words, push people who need, direct people saying, if this is what's happening, why don't you try this? Why don't you go to that person? Why don't you look at this? You do this all the time with all your reading. I try to do it with the guests that we find and we discuss. And sometimes I know from your reactions around the world, you go, the hell is this? And other times you're totally engrossed. And I get the same reaction, but I try to be more polite because we're the public face of the enterprise. That's
plus it's a non-judgmental space, and that's really
what we try to create. That's what we try to create.
Absolutely, and that is super important as well.
Yeah, it is.
And it's wonderful to have a vision. If you have a vision and you're working towards it, and you see it all unfolding, and there's the ups and downs, and you keep going towards it. That's wonderful. It's a guiding star. But don't make a dream an albatross around your neck. It's meant to inspire and enliven you.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
And then I guess, and everybody watching and listening to this, at what point does your dream become a burden?
When it starts to feel like one.
But, to add to that, nothing's easy. This is the horrible Simon Cowell revolting residue that you think you can go on TV for like a month. You come out a multimillionaire and you're a huge celebrity. It doesn't work like that.
Well,
it doesn't work like that. Anything worthwhile, you have to. Hattie's coming on in a few minutes. Hattie Suvari is coming on in a minute. Do you think she just sat there and thought, well, I'll read a legal opinion in the Daily Mail. Now I'm a legal expert. No.
No, but I'm going to say something a little bit controversial here. There's a growing school of thought, and a lot of the psychologies in the world back this up now, the science, that things don't have to be difficult all the time. You can approach things with an attitude of relaxation and ease. Not necessarily saying it would all be easy all the time, but there's a very big belief that we've had for generations that anything worthwhile is difficult. You have to work hard, nose to the grindstone. You have to earn it. You have to do a certain amount of qualifications or earn a certain amount before you can feel worthy. And I say, put it the other way round. I say, feel worthy, feel happy first, bring a bunch of that into it, and let that be the guiding star. And then the journey is a joyful one. And then it's a guiding light, not an albatross.
Can we?
Because the amount of people that say, I'll be happy when, No,
that's a nightmare. You're opening up a big can of whoop ass if you
and
if
ease,
you think that's, you don't
and
want
an
to do
attitude
that.
And an attitude of ease is an awful lot better than that.
Dizzy's very good, very good, very good. I think you said that.
And
I love it when you come up with these little things. My mind doesn't work like that.
It's going to be really clever. If you think you have to struggle, if that's your attitude, then you diss ease. Clever, huh?
No, you've lost me on this one. It's too clever.
Well,
even Hattie, frankly, Hattie's got a brain the size of Jupiter, and she's not getting this.
Well, to diss something is to put something down.
Oh, you kids with your hoodie language.
So why would you diss ease?
No, I get it. But can we agree, right? Can we agree that whatever you're trying to do, whatever your endeavor is, doesn't matter. It could be stand-up comedy. It could be opening up a fruit shop. It doesn't matter. It takes effort. It doesn't mean you got to, and it takes work. And anything worth happening, apart from winning the lottery, requires work. It requires effort. It requires.
But it doesn't have to wear us down.
If you're not prepared to do that, you shouldn't start.
Certainly, some action is required. I mean, I write some bits. I write with I write bits with other people. I have a comedy pile. There's the red pile, which is the green pile, which is yes, it goes in. Amber, got something that needs work. Red, no. And I take all that as feedback by audience reaction. I don't think there's something wrong with me because something's amber or red. It's just feedback.
I'm a bit luckier than that. When I've written the show, which is an hour and a half show, 2 45-minute halves, what I do is this. I ask 2 people. In fact, the last thing, when I did the Edinburgh Fringe, I got 4 people on 2 different occasions whose opinion I absolutely value. One was Sam Kane and his wife, Linda Lusardi. And the other is one of my oldest and dearest friends, Hilary O'Neill, and Paul Adams. Paul Adams has become a good mate. He's the son of one of my heroes, a man called Charlie Adams, one of the great, great comedy writers in Britain of all time. And I'll tell you something, this is out of the blue, I was contacted by Charlie Adams and his then business partner. Would I like a meeting with them? I nearly fainted. I was so excited. And we met at Home House. And it was a brilliant idea. And I said, absolutely, yes, I'd love to work with you. It's a dream. And we worked it all out. And then he dropped dead. Not at the meeting, I hasten to add. So Charlie Adams went, and I become friends with. My point is this. And this is the hardest thing to do. I perform the hour and a half set in front of 2 people sitting with notebooks and notepads, stony-faced. And you have to keep going. And at the end of it, we pick it apart, comma, literally, comma by comma, breath by breath, full stop by full stop. Why? 1, it's sense checks. 2, if you're not prepared to take, it's not constructive criticism and help from people whose opinion you think matters and who you admire, shouldn't be in the business. Shouldn't be in the business of anything. I mean, because I think not to do so is arrogance. It's arrogance.
You're very lucky if you can get that kind of valuable feedback. That's fantastic.
It's absolutely wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. It's also
audience
scary.
Feedback. Yeah, and I have the red pile, the amber pile, and the green pile. Green is definite yes. Amber is needs work. Red is definite no. But I don't.
How do you know?
But if I get a load of ambers or reds,
how do you know it's a no? How do you know that?
I just get a sense of it. I just think no.
Okay, well there you go. There you go. That's fair enough.
That's just try it 3 times. And if it doesn't work 3 times, because sometimes things can seem really, really funny, particularly if I've had a couple of beers, I think, oh God, that's hilarious. And then sometimes when I'm not trying to be funny, I could be really funny when I'm not trying to be.
This has to be the comment of the day. Could you read this out, Neil? This is the comment of the day. And then it's
David Green. Hiya, David. Going through a mental breakdown, I've had to rebuild myself from the bottom up. I was come to realize my mental health problems were incubated in poor self-beliefs instilled by others. Wow. And that's the interesting thing.
That's so David. Powerful, David.
David,
that's so powerful.
It is really powerful because what you're doing, you're essentially digging into yourself and kind of unpicking that conditioning process. And I did hear someone say once that 98% of the thoughts and beliefs that we carry around about the world and about how things work are not even ours in the first place. They're not even ours. So because they were given to us by other people, and back through the chain, they were given to them by other people. Here's one: money doesn't grow on trees. How many times have we heard that?
Well, it doesn't, yeah? unless you're going to work.
When it was made of paper, it kind of did, but or you have to work really hard and struggle to be successful. That's another big one. Or I'm not worthy because of this. That's another big one. But I tell you what,
you have to work hard to be successful.
I would say work smart.
Not to be happy, you have to work. Talking of successful, talking of someone who works hard. Boy, this is a segue or what? Do one of your lovely introductions, because
I will.
For reasons only known to God, Hattie likes your introduction.
I just want to play devil's advocate here just for a second, because if working hard was the key, there's millions of people with their nose to the grindstone every day, and they're not particularly successful. There's got to be another factor. Working smart, yes. Taking action, absolutely. You can't just sit on your bum in a Ferrari or an hour-and-a-half comedy show fall in your lap.
No, of course not.
You have to sort of take steps towards it.
It's not.
But it should be.
You know what? It comes back to what you said. It comes back. You talked about this.
It shouldn't have to be adopted into us by other people, and it comes back to basically what David was saying, that it's all the beliefs and ideas about the world inculcated into us by other people and the environments we live in. If we were all lucky enough to grow up in an environment where we were all cherished, we were all loved, we all felt the world was a fantastic place full of opportunity, that would be the reality for an awful lot more of us. But most of us have to dig deep and dig out the crap that we were told, and then, put in some more positive beliefs about ourselves.
Totally. You summed it up. It can
be a bit scary at times, but my God, the journey is worthwhile, because once you get that empowerment, that self-empowerment, wow, that's worth having. That's really worth having.
Two things here. If you work in a widget factory, you make widgets, and you're on the, I don't know if this even happens anymore, God knows, but you're on the assembly line, the old idea of the factory, and you're there from 9 to 5 and you're going to work there 30 years. No, that's just to put food on the table and a roof over your head. And that's never going to grow. But that's majority of people. That's how life is. You get a job, maybe you work your way up slowly, whatever, etc., etc. But what you've said, Neil, and then we must get on to Hattie, otherwise it's rude. If you don't have you said a beacon. I liken it to like a target. What's my target? That's where I want to be. We've set ourselves a target on other things for March 2024. All right. By then, certain things have to happen. Not the world's going to stop. That's where we are, to give ourselves impetus. I think that's important. You have a target. You have a light. You have a destination.
I do too.
That's what I'm saying.
Why settle for a mediocre life when possibly, and science does bear this out as well, when within ourselves we've all got the power to create a fantastic one? And if we've all got that power, why settle for a mediocre one? And that's what a lot of the science is coming out and saying.
Speaking of someone who is not mediocre, I can't keep her waiting anymore. She's going to eat her way.
We can't. Let's get her on.
I'm waiting. Come on, one of your specials.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the glamorous.
You can't say that.
Hugely intelligent.
You can say that.
Complicated legal concepts and makes them easy to understand and digestible.
Yeah.
One bite at a time.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hattie Suvari.
Good afternoon. Who are you speaking about, Neil?
You.
I'm looking for
you. First of all, are you
You've
feeling
got to
better?
stop all these compliments because people are going to really start expecting spectacular stuff, and it's just
No. Our
me.
audience has a very, very low. We set the bar. I mean, Neil and I set the bar very low.
Nonsense.
Let's be honest. So
And I'll
anything
tell you what,
say
if
sounds
someone's
great.
facing a difficult legal question and they can tune into this and get an answer, I wouldn't say that's average at all, would you?
No,
I'd say that's pretty
not at all.
momentous.
Not at all.
Hopefully,
Right.
what we say on this show in this legal half an hour helps lots and lots of people. Because today I want to talk about holiday laws that you need to know. It's not the first thing that pops to mind when you think of having a holiday. And as the heat turns up, over 60% of Brits will head overseas for holidays, and that apparently that's annually some 71 million trips are taken
Good
overseas.
God.
That's
What?
a lot from the
In
UK.
a country of 65 mil?
Yeah, well, you go away sometimes more than once a year, but 71 million trips
Really
are taken
true.
overseas in the UK. So, and obviously 60% of us are going away for the summer or do go somewhere and do something for the summer. So there are some bits here that I think people might find interesting. New laws for Brits visiting popular destinations like Spain and Cyprus. Some seem sensible, but others are a little bit surprising. What to look out for on your passport so you can be allowed to travel. And that's actually even getting out of the country. And now that we're out of the EU, there seems to be some confusion as to whether our UK driving licenses are still valid in EU countries.
I haven't even thought of that.
So what to consider to be able to drive abroad in certain countries. And I'll give you some heads up on which countries you can't drive with just a UK driving license.
Fascinating.
And I'm going to tell you if it is a legal requirement to have travel insurance. Again, most of us don't think about that. We're so busy trying to book the holidays that you don't think as to whether you've got it in place, whether you've got sufficient travel insurance in place, and when compensation for a delayed flight actually kicks in. Because there's so many myths around that and so many stories of what people think should happen and could happen and would happen. So that's basically what I want to try and cover today very quickly.
In the next 2 days.
The floor is yours, Hattie. The floor is yours.
All right, new laws for Spain and Cyprus. So here are the bullet points for these two popular destinations. So Cyprus has introduced some new laws against possession of illegal drugs, including a ban on laughing gas. The new rules are now stricter than the UK, with zero tolerance policy if caught in possession of any substance, prison sentence or hefty fine. As I said, the headline there is it is now stricter laws than the UK. Driving in Cyprus, you should be aware that it's illegal to eat or drink anything behind the wheel. And the rule is so strict that even if you say, I was parched, I needed to cool myself off, had no aircon in my car, I really needed to have this sip while I was driving, it will not be enough to dodge you a fine. So just bear that in mind. 15 million Brits visit Spain each year. The new laws include warnings to holidaymakers to check their behaviour. So the Spaniards are set to stamp out noisy and boozy tourists with a drinks limit of 6 alcoholic drinks per day. How on earth they're going to measure that in some locations, I have no idea. But
hang on, even Ibiza, that's Spain, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So
that's just nonsense.
That's part of their new rules. Spain have also brought in a ban on smoking on 28 of its beaches, as well as having introduced a new law where they can ask you to prove on entry that you've got at least €100 per day for each day of your visit, plus a minimum of a further €900 on top, as well as proof of where you've planned to stay. Otherwise, they can refuse you entry.
God, this is like Hattie, this is very much like if you get a bad turn at the immigration in coming into New York or LA. Whoa. Totally.
Yeah, this is Spain. This is Spain saying we don't want boozy tourists. We're banning smoking on a lot of beaches, 28 to start with. On entry, we can ask you to say, show us €100 for every day of your stay, plus 900 on top. Otherwise, we can refuse you.
Not meat and potatoes question. How do you do that? You're standing at immigration. You got screaming kids around you. Well, I haven't, but they have.
Yeah.
What happens? What do you do?
Well, if they're asking you for cash, prove you're here for 14 days, so you need €1,400 plus the 900 on top. My maths about €2,500. You may not have that in cash. Most people pay by card. Yeah. You can show a bank statement. Most people have online banking. You can just log in and say, here's what I've got. I can afford to visit and be here. But they are saying in their laws, if we ask you and you can't show proof, we can refuse you entry. And
so what's the purpose of this? Is it basically to stop that culture of British bulldog kind of thing?
I have no idea, to be honest. I think that, Spain, I went to Spain very recently for a couple of days, and it completely changed my perspective of Spain. It was not boozy. It was not loud. It was so civil. It was lovely. The food was amazing. But yes, I guess that they're just trying to.
But you probably weren't in Torremolinos. I'm going out on a limb here.
No, I was in Seville.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
it was very nice.
Beautiful city.
It was absolutely stunning.
What I have noticed is when I go on holiday is that people, particularly blokes from Britain, can be absolutely vile. I was in Ibiza with my daughter and we nearly stayed in this hotel, and I'm so glad we didn't. It was in San Antonio, right on the front, and out of every balcony was all these blokes drinking, leaning over the balcony, going whoa, like that. And it's really, I like a drink, but really there was no need for that.
No, I get it. Look, passports, okay? Most people do not check the expiry date on their passports, believe it or not. And even if they do, they think, oh, I've got 3 months to go. I've got 2 months to go. I've got 6 months to go. Some countries will not let you in if you do not have 6 months to expiry on your passport.
Yes.
Okay. And what happens is, forget getting in the country. When you go to fly out and you check in, that is the point where they can say, you might not be able to fly out, because if we fly you out and the country refuses you entry, then they get fined for letting you go out. So please, please, please check the expiry date on your passport. For example, the UAE, you need 6 months to expiry on your passport to enter any country in the UAE. It's really quick to do. Applying for a new passport can be very efficient and very quick as well these days. Driving abroad.
Can I just ask a question? Is some of this 2 fingers to the UK for leaving the EU?
No.
Not the United Arab Emirates, obviously.
The expiry date, Russ, was always a point. It's always been a point. You've got to have more than 3 months on your passport to leave the country and go on holiday. Because if something happens to you, God forbid you fall ill or something, and you can't board that flight, and for some reason you're stuck there, and then your passport expires. Can you imagine?
I got to tell you something. It's apropos of nothing. My daughter, who's doing gangbusters work at the moment, years ago was going away, and I said, "No, don't forget your part." Oh, for God, Dad, you're just a fusspot. Of course, you think I'm going to be stupid and forget my passport.
And it's expired.
I'll get a phone. No. I get a phone call. Dad, what? You mentioned the passport. Yeah. I put it in my pocket. Yeah. She put her Woolwich Building Society passport.
Oh no! Where was she, at the airport? Oh no! No, that's no good. Oh no, don't. Or you pick up the wrong passport. You pick up a passport that belongs to another member of the family if they're kept in the drawer somewhere.
That'd be worse almost.
Right, driving.
Driving.
Fat Scotty says, I'm just doing this in case you're listening and you're not seeing us. France, along with many EU countries, state you must carry an EU driver's kit, which contains 2 breath tests, blimey, high vis jacket, or presumably, or a jerkin, or whatever they call it, headlamp converters. What's the legal penalty for failing to comply? Blimey O'Reilly.
Well, I have absolutely no idea. I mean, how could you carry headlamp converters in your...
You fit them. In the old days, you used to fit. Do you remember you used to see yellow You're too young. You used to see yellow
No, I
headlamps.
still do see yellow headlamps.
Well,
They're
you'd
quite
have to
easy
go
on
to
the eye.
like
These
Halfords.
Denons drive me nuts.
You'd go to literally you'd go to the AA or you go to Halfords or something, and you have to buy those stupid yellow things where you can see sod all. It's because you don't want the lights pointing in the wrong direction.
Bamboozle the driver in front.
That's right.
I mean, again, the most important thing about driving abroad is to check that your driving license has not expired, because driving licenses in the UK expire every 10 years. Again, something most people don't know. They think, what do you mean it expires? I've got my driving license. What do you mean I need to reapply and get a new one? You do. You need to update it because you're asked certain medical questions by the DVLA, and it's just a process. You don't need to go, obviously, for your driving test again or do any of that. Make sure it's not expired. Check if you need, and this is the key bit, international driving permit to drive in your chosen destination. And you can do this because obviously we can't cover every country now, although I'm going to mention a few, on the gov.uk website.
Okay.
You actually do need an international driving permit to drive in the USA, Turkey, Brazil, Japan, and the UAE. Yes, you do. And even though we're out of the EU, you can still drive in the EU with a full UK driving license.
But Hattie, I've never. As soon as I get to the States, I get.
Do you need a permit for that?
What?
For
the EU countries?
No, you can drive in the EU with a full UK driving license.
But in the US, I've never got an extra permit. I just drive.
You need it's called an international driving permit, and you can get one really easily and really quickly. I recently actually did it. You go along to a participating post office. Again, you can check which post offices actually distribute them. Going online, each post office will show you the services that it covers. Passport size photo, your UK driving license, £5.50 is the fee. They do it over the counter, and it takes about 5 minutes.
Okay.
And they can be valid from anything from 1 year to 3 years. So it's a bit of card. It's just a little bit of card that they give you with your picture on it. They seal it, they stamp it, they put all these marks on it to make sure it's an original document. And that is your international driving permit, which allows you to drive in, as I mentioned, UAE, USA, Turkey, Brazil, Japan, and a whole host of other countries that say you must have one of these.
I suppose people wouldn't really think about these things. They seem very obvious.
I never have. Wow.
Now you're saying them, but yeah, no, it's already good to know.
And don't forget, can I just while it's on my head? So sorry, Neil. I'll come right back. When you're going to the States, don't forget ESTA. I don't mean drag your aunt along. I mean ESTA. You need ESTA.
What's
it only
that?
costs 15 quid. So
what is that?
The ESTA form, which I'd never heard of until I was traveling out to Los Angeles, and they said, have you got your ESTA? And I panicked. And luckily, I sorted out the airport. You go online, and you literally, it's just ESTA, and you fill it in, costs 15 quid, and you get it. And you have to have that. I don't know what
it stands for. Electronic System for Travel Authorization, ESTA.
Yeah.
Which cucumber sandwich eating committee decided that
it's been in £15?
I mean, I shouldn't probably say that, but I'm going to say it.
Well, the CIA are going to be visiting you now. You
know. There you go.
Hope Hillary Clinton is in charge of that. And they'll find you floating. Now, here's the thing. The ESTA is very important, and it takes no time. You do it online, but you can do it as long as it's registered.
Okay.
They will check.
Green card you needed to enter.
No.
Okay, so you need the ESTA. You need to check. If you're going to drive, obviously you need the international driving thing. Right. Is it a legal
ESTA
requirement?
is just to enter the country. It's not about working. It's literally just to come into the country. That's all.
I think you need one for Canada as well, I think. I seem to remember having to get one for Canada when I went to visit my daughter. Don't take that as gospel, but I seem to remember that.
Okay. And a check shirt for Canada.
Is it a legal lumberjack? Is it a legal requirement to have travel insurance?
Ooh.
Most people say, no, it's not. Well, for most parts of it, if you don't require a visa for entry, then usually travel insurance is compulsory. However, again, there are some parts in the world where travel insurance is legally required for you to enter, whether you have a visa or not. Some of these countries include Cuba, Israel, Iran, Jamaica, Qatar, the UAE, Ecuador, and the list goes on. So it's a legal requirement for you to have valid travel insurance to travel to some countries. And it's really important to check before you go. I mean, I would say have travel insurance no matter where you go.
Absolutely.
Because you could fall ill and have medical bills. You could, end up staying there for some reason outside of your control and need further accommodation. You could have lost baggage. You could have a cancelled flight. Travel insurance should, be something that you take. And you can check quickly to see which countries legally require you to have travel insurance from the citizensadvice.org.uk website by going in, and it comes under types of travel insurance, and all the countries are listed, and you can see, do you have to have it as a legal requirement or not?
Can I just say, this is my personal view, you are bonkers if you don't take out travel insurance when you're traveling.
I agree. I agree.
Absolutely
it's really
take it out,
important.
because if you, God forbid, you get ill, you and in America, holy God, forget it. They'll leave you on the street. Seriously, they just leave you on the street.
Hattie, where can
Most
people
countries-
check? You gave us a lovely list there. Where can people check?
Yeah. So you can check to see whether you need travel insurance for the country that you're traveling to by going to citizensadvice, which is one word, .org.uk. And then you go there and you go types of travel insurance. You type that in and it brings up all the countries and whether you really need the travel insurance as a requirement or not. But I mean, the UAE, Qatar, very popular destinations. Israel, very popular destination. Lots of people go to Cuba. There are lots of countries on there which are common destinations for us Brits. So, but I totally agree with you, Russ. I mean, you should. It does, with some bank accounts, come as standard as a little bonus, free travel insurance with some bank accounts. So it's worth checking that. Also, check with your home contents insurance, because sometimes some of your items, like expensive items, for example, it could be watches or laptops or iPads, can come under your home contents insurance as being covered away from home.
Yes.
So it's worth checking what you're covered for and with who. So,
but it's not expensive. I'm sorry. So just to jump in, it's not prohibitively expensive. And trust me, if you lose all your luggage or God forbid get ill, that 30, 50 quid you spend, right? So it's one less round of drinks you buy. Trust me, it's worth it.
Absolutely. It's well worth it.
Peace of mind.
And I think absolutely. And I know we don't want to read the small print, but it is important to look at what is your excess and make sure you can afford that. Because if you fall ill or something, an emergency takes place and you can't afford the excess because it's been set at £1,000 and you just don't seem to have that, available to pay, check what your excess is going to be. Check and just keep a copy of it on your phone or in your luggage somewhere where you can access the contact number very easy. Because the worst thing is when you're abroad, you need to contact your insurance and you don't know where to start. You think, God, who was the insurer? What's the policy number? Who do I call? What's the the emergency claim number?
Totally.
So
very important.
Last
point. Put it into perspective. You go for a CT scan on the NHS. Thank you very much. Lovely to see you. You walk out. Have a CT scan in America. That is $15,000 to $20,000.
Is it really, Russ?
Oh yeah.
It's a few £15,000 to $20,000. I know it's a couple of thousand here, but how much?
Yeah, 15 to 20,000.
That's absurd.
Yeah, wow. That's America for you. That's the American medical system. It's insanity.
That's a lot of money for a CT scan. Wow.
I'm telling you, well, it happened to my late friend. He was in there 20 minutes.
Oh,
and I said, I go to Guy for my stuff. I go to, Guy's Hospital or St. Thomas's. Thank you very much. I walk out. Doesn't occur to me. He went to Cedars-Sinai. 15. I think they charged him 15 grand. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I do know it's a couple of thousand here privately. CT scans on, depends on where and obviously what part, body part, and all that sort of stuff. But $15,000 to $20,000.
I'm telling 15 to 20 grand. Yeah.
What's your final point, Hattie?
Oh, compensation on a delayed flight.
Oh, yes,
when does it actually kick in? Again, there's so many myths and incorrect stats flying around on this. I thought, you know what? Let me just throw this one in as well. So if a flight is delayed for 3 hours or more, you may be able to claim compensation up to £520 if the delay was not caused by the airline. So it depends on what the delay was caused by. And there's lots of what they come under as non-fault reasons. So some of these non-fault reasons are things like extreme weather, airport air traffic control, an issue with that, or employee strikes. So if the delay has been caused for a fault that does not belong to the airline itself, then you could claim up to 520. I think you put 530 up there.
I did. I was just correcting that, Hattie. Sorry.
No worries. £520. And I found a really useful website where you can go in and honestly, all you had to do is put your flight number and the date I think you travelled, and it will tell you whether you can claim compensation or not. I don't know how on earth they do it and how they check whether these airlines were delayed or not. Called airhelp.com.
Wow,
and
love
airhelp
that.
was one word.
Love
airhelp.com. So if you're thinking, can I claim compensation for this delay? You go in there, and as I said, from what I saw, I thought that's really neat. You just put your airline, your flight number in, and I think the date that you were going to travel, that you're about to travel, whatever it is, and they come out with all this blurge, and I think they get a percentage of what they've claimed for you. So I'm not even sure if you have to even pay them to process your claim.
Where do you start? Where do you? I see. This is interesting. Graham Pack says, "Hi Hattie, I've issued proceedings against EasyJet for non-payment of compensation under EC 261 for my wife's cancelled flight to Portugal."
I wonder if that was an online claim that he issued, the money claim, because that's the quickest and easiest way to do it.
Very quickly, you're sitting in the airport. Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Long. Your flight's delayed by 4 hours, whatever it is. Why? Ash in the air or something, whatever it is. Where do you start your claim? You don't start arguing, presumably, with the man or woman.
Well, I would say get on the flight and get to the other destination so you know exactly how long that delay has actually been.
Right.
See what reasons are being given to you. But then you start really with the customer service department of your airline. So it's not the broker, it's the airline itself. So it's not Thompson who sold you an EasyJet flight or whatever it is. It'll be with the airline itself, and you'll write to them and you'll say, this day, this time, this was the delay. They'll know about the delay in any event.
Right.
A quick question I've got. I'll just do this for Fat Scotty. Many holiday insurance policies state exclusions for alcohol or drug-induced injuries. Yeah, they'd be skinned. Not only would he face medical bills as not covered, criminal charges of being intox or nartoxed. Oh, I never heard the word nartoxed before.
Good one. I haven't either.
Nor me. I like it.
Yeah, it leads on to my next question, actually, because marijuana seems to be being legalized more and more around the world. But I guess if people do choose to do that, they need to be a little bit careful where they do it. And what's the difference between tolerated and legal? Because it's legal in Canada, but it's tolerated in Amsterdam. What is the difference?
Well, I would say that legal is written in law. So you're either breaking the law or you're not. A tolerated position is someone saying, listen, we know you're going to have a little bit of marijuana in your hash cake in Amsterdam. We're actually happy that can take place, and it's not illegal for it to take place. Tolerance is something to do with the culture, I'd say, and with the policies of the country, policies. And really legal is as it is. It's either legal or it's not legal. Full stop. That's my interpretation of that.
It's like being a little bit pregnant, isn't it? There's no such thing. Grand Pack is just confirming it's an online claim, really easy.
Yes.
They've just acknowledged the claim, gives them an additional 14 days to give their defence. They're claiming extraordinary circumstances.
Oh, well, as I said, it depends why the delay. Well, that was a cancellation. So it depends why the cancellation took place. But online money claim, I will do an episode on that because it's actually so easy. Not that I'm trying to create a litigious mindset, but if you want to make a claim, it's not as frightening, it's not as expensive, it's not difficult. It's actually really easy to do online.
I don't think you're creating that at all. I think one of the main things that we talk about so much on the Daily Show is feeling powerless. And you, with your expert knowledge, and everybody joining in with their own experiences makes people think, you know what, I'm not going to take this crap anymore. I've been inconvenienced. There has to be, some recompense for that. And I don't want to be the little person.
Hattie, this is for your TikTok.
Oh my God. I love the hearts. I'm a girl. I love hearts. I say that. Well, I am going to say it. But this goes back to what I always say. We're not taught the law anywhere unless you electively go and learn it. Why we're not taught the law in school is beyond me. secondary children should have a very
course they
basic
damn well
learning
should.
about the laws. And going back to what you're saying, Russ, you're empowered when you've got the knowledge. You might not get into trouble because you know the law. You might avoid trouble. You might be able to understand the situation a lot better because you understand the law, and you won't be taken for a ride if you understand the law.
Stop mugging us off, really, is the underlying thing. Stop it. Hadi Suvari of Get Legally Speaking, bless you. Always
Brilliant,
an
Hadi. Thank
inspiration.
you.
Neil
Thank
Long,
you,
thank
guys.
you for your on Monday.
Always a pleasure. Never a chore,
Never a
Hattie.
chore. Good luck with all your gigs. I'll be back on Friday with a fair wind and a fair wind. Bye, gang.
See you Monday.